This month I decided to try an apothecary theme and I can't wait to show you how it turned out. Hi, I'm Tash and welcome back to another Plan With Me video. This month I'm using a combination of stickers and hand-drawn art to create a full and cluttered apothecary feel. Usually I start my videos off by showing you all the items that I'm planning on using, but since this video is already much longer than I planned, I've cut a bunch of that stuff out in the edit. I'll have as much of the stuff that I'm using listed in the description box though, so if there's anything that catches your eye, you can head there for links. Instead, I'm giving you a quick glimpse of the art that I've created for this theme and how I've done things differently this month. And with that being said, let's get started on the cover page and calendar. When planning this theme, I wanted to start off with something fun and interesting, and I thought that putting my calendar inside an apothecary type cabinet could work. I absolutely adore how it turned out, and I really enjoy getting to use a mix of pretty stickers as well as my artistic side for this whole setup. I started off by drawing the sign to put the March title on. I'll have font inspirations linked in the description box also, but I'm basically using 2 serif inspired fonts to keep it nice and simple. I've also cut out and sped up a lot of the footage for this video since I did so much drawing and colouring, which did make the video go much longer than usual, so I tried to keep it brief and hopefully not boring. My idea for the calendar was that each day of the calendar would be a drawer in an apothecary cabinet, but obviously they're actually calendar days, and it would have shelves to add plant stickers as well. As for the cover page, I was a little stuck on what to do. I knew I was going to draw a bunch of stuff on other spreads, so I wanted to keep the cover page relatively simple, so I settled on adding a collage of items that felt like a vintage apothecary shop. I had a few variants of these dried herbs and flower stickers that were absolutely perfect for this theme, and it really made the theme come alive in my opinion. Another element that really made the theme for me was the colouring in of the wood textures throughout. I used a variety of brown water-based markers and then added depth with coloured pencils. I tried to use the browns in a haphazard kind of way, so it wasn't like a pattern per se, but it felt a little more natural and organic. A little trick that I like to use when going for a more organic feel is to use markers to blend together. I often find that markers can leave harsh lines, but if you go over a wet marker with a lighter or a darker shade, you can blend the edges so they appear softer. After that, I'll use a coloured pencil with a soft lead. Here, I'm using the small set of Prismacolors that I got for my birthday, as well as my favourite Faber Castelle Polychromos pencils, and using the soft lead to create blends over harsh lines so it all feels like it's one seamless piece of wood. For my birthday this year, I got some of these sponges and some ink, and I wanted to try using it for a distressed look. I'd never done this before, so it was a bit of trial and error, but in the end I decided that swiping the sponge to create a distressed plank sort of look worked best. And then I went over it with pen and pencil to make it look more like weathered wood. It probably ended up darker than I wanted, but I still liked the overall effect, and it's definitely better than the plain white paper as backing for the cabinet. One of my favourite parts of these 2 pages is this clear jar. I used the jar sticker, added an ingredient label like you might find in an apothecary, and filled it with flowers and herbs, and I love how it came together. Here you can see a little bit of my process and how I put things together, especially when creating a more of a collage-y, scrapbooky kind of spread. I put different elements together and I move them around and try them in different places until I'm satisfied with where they are and how it looks. I had a bunch of these hanging plant stickers and I thought it might look cool if I added a canopy of sort of potted plants hanging from the ceiling of the Apothecary, and I really love how it turned out. It's something that I use throughout the theme actually, and I'm really glad that I decided to do it. Moving on to the next pages now, where I'm putting my grocery list, progress and achievement section, and my self-care trackers. I didn't want to just draw the same thing over and over again, and I really wanted to go all out and make this theme really fun, so I drew a shelf with a little sign in between the grocery and progress sections just to break them up. This way, I'm carrying the theme through with the same wood as the first pages, but can also use the same stickers and bits and pieces to really tie it all together. And while it's absolutely not even close to necessary to do this much, I do this for myself and for my own creative expression and joy. It genuinely makes me really happy. For the self-care trackers, since I'm using a B5 journal for the first half of this year, and I'm not likely to go back to one for planning anytime soon, I wanted to take advantage of all the space I have and do something really fun for my trackers. I don't know if you remember me trying out an interactive tracker a few months ago and wanting to give it another try, but now felt like the right time to do that. I got the idea for interactive trackers from watching Cherie's Teas videos actually, but being an apothecary theme, I wanted to stay within that and try having potion bottles as my tracker for each separate thing, and then creating some shelves for them to sit in, so that's what I did. I probably should have made the shelves a little deeper so the bottles stayed in a bit better, but adding the twine around the neck of each bottle with a teeny tiny tag to write what's being tracked on it was so fun to do, and I'm legit obsessed with the final result. I added them all to a hand-drawn cabinet kind of thing with shelves above that I could decorate with stickers, and while the sizes are kind of unbalanced, it doesn't bother me that much, and I'm honestly so obsessed with the final result. For each bottle as well as the shelves that I glued in, I just used old dot grid journal offcuts, so I didn't really need anything new to make this, just leftovers, which is why I always save what I can. Here I'm just using some more of the ink that I used on the previous page, just in some different places, like on these shelves that I'm making to pop the potion bottles into, as well as the shelves that I drew on the left page. It actually has a different tone than the markers I was using. It's cooler toned and darker, so it meant that I could have a bit more variation in all the wood things and everything wasn't matching perfectly and had some variation to it. I mentioned before that I added tags to the tracker bottles, and here I am just drawing out some tag shapes and cutting them out ready to be attached to the bottles. And here you can see that I'm using some twine and cutting small pieces and gluing them to the tops of the bottles so it kind of looks like the neck of the bottle is wrapped in twine. I'm also tying some of that twine onto the tags and then gluing the other end down to the bottles. The twine I'm using actually came, I think it was wrapped around a paper pack that I got from Journal Say or something. It wasn't actually something that I ordered, it came as decoration. So for those of you that hoard craft supplies and materials the way I do, this is proof that we always find a use for those things that we hold on to. And now I'm just going through and adding decorations in, like stickers to fill the shelves, adding stuff to the shelf on the left, and colouring in the bottles to make the whole thing feel nice and finished. I also added some lines to the potion bottle shelves so they looked more like wood planks. I think I actually do come back later to add finishing touches because I wasn't quite sure how I wanted to finish it up at this point. So I sort of do what I can and then I come back to it when I have a better grasp, a better idea of the direction that I want to go to finish it off. Now we're on to the one spread that I put the most work into for this journal certainly, and maybe even for any journal ever. Rather than colouring in a box for my mood and symptom tracking, I decided to do a thing I see a lot of others do, and colour in a bottle per day for my mood and a dried herb or flower for my symptoms. Except this is possibly the most extra way of doing it because of who I am as a person. Because of my many physical and mental health issues, I have a lot of stuff to track, which is generally why I choose the simpler method of a box to track everything that I need to keep an eye on. But to really lean into the theme, and because I am nothing if not a masochist, I decided it'd be a great idea to hand draw a bottle and a herb for each day. It took me so long to come up with enough different designs for 31 days. I toyed with the idea of combining the moods and symptoms together and just putting them together in bottles, but I felt like this would be really hard for me to read at a glance, especially when I'm going over it and trying to, notice patterns and things like that. As it is, I normally use 3 colours or 3 tones of the same colour for my tracking, which keeps it pretty easy to use. But the thing is, especially with the potion bottles, because I put so much work into the art, I really wanted it to be a fun mix, and having more different colours would mean that I would end up with a really fun mix of coloured bottles for when the month was done, and it would also mean that it looks less boring in general, especially by the time I'm done with the month. Another important part of my personal tracking is monitoring the severity of my symptoms. I choose to denote if my mood and symptoms are mild, moderate, or severe, and I didn't want to give that aspect of my tracking up since it's a really useful way for me to be able to see changes, so I just made up my own key. Each item will have its own colour, and then it will range from dark to light depending on the severity for whatever that colour is. Genuinely, this is a one-time system that I'm doing purely for fun and to shake things up. It's far too complicated to do every month. And I'll also need quite a few colours on hand at all times, but since it's just for this month, I'm really excited to see how it looks when I start colouring each day in. Then, almost as an afterthought, we have a small sleep tracker in the corner. The key for the mood and symptom trackers will be taped above the area for the sleeping tracker, so I can just flip it up and have access to both sections. It's probably something I could have thought out better, but real talk, I don't even care because I'm mostly just excited to try it out. It was so much work, but I'm really glad I pushed myself this month to try something new. Even though most of the colour will come from daily use, as in colouring in my symptoms and my mood for each day, I still wanted to make it feel finished by colouring in the banner, the labels, the number tags, and also add a bit of decoration just to tie it into all the other pages. I did consider leaving the bottles totally black and white, but I decided against it in the end, and I'm glad I did. Back onto the spread we were working on before just to finish it up, adding in my usual every other line highlight and some final stickers to finish the whole thing off. Moving now to a spread that is constant in my journal. March at a glance, songs on repeat, and things I'm into. This was the only spread that I had any trouble with this month. Since I had so many hand-drawn elements before this, I wanted to continue that here, but I wasn't really sure how. I ended up settling on an old wooden dresser and shelves on one page and an apothecary cabinet on the opposite page. The idea being that each apothecary drawer would be a space to write a thing that I'm really into that month. Normally I don't like to limit my space that way, but it felt right for this theme and I love how it turned out. I did have to take care when colouring in the apothecary drawers. I needed them to blend in and look like they were made with wood, the same as all the other elements in this theme, but also leave plenty of space to write inside them still. It was a bit of a challenge, but I think I balanced it well. As I did for other pages, I've drawn the wood elements and then decorated with plant stickers. I love that it feels cohesive to the rest of what I've done, but still has its own vibe. This is the final spread for this video, setting up my content planner and dashboard. I've moved my content planner to go along with my dashboard this month simply because it makes more sense for me to have it closer to my weeklies where I plan out the content I'm working on and what I need to have done at what time in order to have videos up in a timely manner. I used another Apothecary kind of cabinet here with some room underneath to decorate. As for the dashboard, I just really felt like drawing some scrolls, okay? I've put each of the things for my dashboard inside a scroll and I love how they turned out. I did make a small mistake with my weather chart by putting the dates from the wrong month down, but I just went over it with a white paint marker and then I wrote over top of the white paint marker with the correct numbers. I thought by writing the dates in a light grey would mean I wouldn't lose track on the days for my weather calendar, but now I realise I'm going to have to draw over top, which is kind of stupid. My plan is to wing it and see how I go, although sitting here now, maybe I could get some little weather stickers that I could use to put over top. I don't know, we'll see how it goes. The first month I used a dashboard, I wasn't quite sure if it was something that was going to work for me, and I still think that it's not quite right for me. But with some tweaks, I think maybe it can be something that I use regularly going forward. I really like tracking the weather, but I often forget to check it, so I'm not sure if it's something that I'll keep up with and continue doing going forwards. And I find that my meds tracker is much more useful when it's with my weeklies, and the same for my to-do lists as well, to be honest. So I may end up switching those back into the coming months, but I think having a section for content planning and an overarching to-do list and notes section may be the way I end up using my dashboard in the future, as well as other things I may need to incorporate, like a rotating cleaning list or something like that. For now though, I just want to keep playing around with it while I have the spare space in the larger journal and see how I feel with each change that I make. And now I'm just going through and adding in finishing touches to a few spreads that need a little bit of attention just to make them feel full and tie them in completely to the entire theme. And now, while we take a look back through each page that I've created, I want to take this moment to thank you for being here with me. This video marks almost 1 year since I started creating journal content, and I'm so grateful to have you here spending even a little bit of your time with me. If you've not already, I would love it if you would consider subscribing to my channel and liking the video, especially if you would like to see more content like this. It really helps me out and it lets me know that you're enjoying what you're seeing. And if you've made it this far and watched all the way to the end, leave me a bottle or a potion emoji in the comments to show that you've made it all the way through. I truly appreciate you taking time to watch this whole thing, and I really hope that you enjoyed watching. And with that, I hope that you are as safe and as happy as you can be, and I will hopefully see you again in my next video.